Hey, welcome to WoodPortGuitars. Thanks for stopping by. I finished this Camacho build. Now I call it my nemesis. It's finally finished, and we're going to intonate this bridge today. So this video, I want to talk about bridges and intonation. And I want to say thank you to all the subscribers, and sorry about the background audio. It's a party over there. So intonation is the accuracy in pitch when you're singing or playing, and in our case it's when we go up the fretboard. So if this one is tuned to E, open E, E, B, E, so you play the string open, tune it, play it at the 12th fret, and it should be the same note. This one looks a little flat. Let's check a note. This can be a long and tedious process, and sometimes it can go really quick. So this is a floating bridge, and this is the bridge. It's a floating bridge because it is not attached. You can slide it back and forth. So when you set the intonation, you literally grab it and move it. I think I just did. Well, that's a little, that's really not too bad. Okay, this type of bridge, you literally just move it back and forth so you can grab it and turn it. Notice it's at an angle. It's fairly easy to intonate these. So you play the string open, tune it, play it at the 12th fret, see what it is. If it is sharp, that means this is too short and your bridge needs to go back. If the note is flat, that means the string is too long and it needs to go towards the neck. So when I check this, I'll get it in a spot and just grab it and move it where it needs to go. Now this neck is fretted for a 24 3/4 inch scale, and you'd think that's what this would be. So let's put it on our 0 fret. It's a little bit longer than that. It's 1/8 of an inch more. Not much, granted, but it's 1/8 of an inch, because this is the equivalent of a D string on a 6-string guitar. The high E string on a 6-string guitar would have been probably right at that 24 3/4. So on the bass side, this is a low E, and it's the same as the low E on a 6-string guitar. That's 25 1/8. This guitar has the fixed bridge, and you can see the screws on the back, and you can see the springs on those screws. So that's how you set the intonation, and you can see the little grub screws that will lift these individual pieces up and down to get the height, your string action, your string height. So you simply turn this screw back here. You turn this screw counterclockwise, and this tail piece will go towards the neck. Turn it clockwise, and it'll pull it back. So the intonation should be close on this guitar, but I believe the low G is still out. This guitar is tuned. This guitar is tuned to G, G, D, G. And it's the equivalent of the 3rd, 4th, and 5th string on a 6-string guitar set, gauge-wise. So let me tune this. Way flat. Okay, so we need to go forward. So I am going to turn this screw carefully counterclockwise a lot, because it needs to go a lot. All right, and then we retune it. And that's closer, but it really needs to go a long ways. There we go. Heard that pop forward. And we tune it. There we go. We're lined up as a nut. Remember, this is a 24 3/4 inch scale, and we can see I'm going to say that's just under 25 1/4 is where this G string is sitting, which is the equivalent gauge of an A string on a 6-string guitar. So you can see where the other ones are sitting. They're all longer than 24 3/4. And almost assuredly, when you change gauges of strings, if you go from a medium gauge to a heavy gauge, it's going to change your intonation. So you're going to have to readjust it. And on one of these, every time you change the strings, you're going to have to replace that. So I would suggest getting some measurements, either from your nut or 0 fret to your bridge, or off the back of your box to the corners of it. One way or the other, you need to get some measurements. Make it a lot easier when you put strings on it and set it back up. You'll be really close to intonated right off the bat. Stick around for a little bit and I will tell you how and why this guitar has become my nemesis. So here I am yammering on about the neck and the black stain I'm going to use on it. And you can see the box in all of its former glory right here. So now it begins. I pre-drilled the holes for the machine screws I'm using to hold the lid onto the box. I started with a small bit just for a pilot hole. Then came the 13/64 drill bit for the hole to be tapped for a 1/4 inch 20 machine screw. So that is red oak. very hard and very dense. And off camera, I had taken water-thin CA glue and I coat the wood threads. So this is not appropriate for attaching legs to a dinner table, but in this situation, it'll be just fine. The last hole to drill in the lid is a bigger hole to accommodate the screw itself. And when I pulled the tape back, well, it was a bummer. The clear coat on the box pulled off with the tape on all the corners and on the inside of the lid. Wow. So one part says, man, what a bummer, and the other part says, how do we carry on? This is what it is now, carry on. Well, there's no way I know of to patch the existing finish. So remove the finish and respray with a clear lacquer. And then I scratched the paint on the lid in a spot that will not be covered by any hardware. So again, carry on. I sanded the lid. And like Steve said, take a step back. So I did. Kind of. While I was deciding on what to do with the paint job, I really wanted to check my layout. I had to put the guitar together. I needed proof of concept. I needed to know this bridge and layout and neck height and nut were all going to work. Really, I knew it would, but I needed to know. I needed to know. I'm glad I did. So I'm glad I put it together and did all this layout before the paint and the clear coat. So all the taping, layout, marking for hardware was done while the lid was sanded. When it comes time to assemble the finished box and add hardware, all the mounting holes are there and pre-drilled. Less chance of damaging the finish on the box. And it plays fine with a blue tape fingerboard. Go figure. By this time, I've decided to paint the box flat black, like the paint I used on the neck in the same semi-gloss clear lacquer. Sounds easy enough. I sprayed the box in the lid, came back to find a bug in the paint. Sand with 320 grit and go again. Now there's a big speck of dust, or I don't know what that is. Sand with 320, spray again. This time a big glob came from the tip and ruined the paint again. I sprayed and sanded so many times I have lost count. So I finally get a paint job I can live with, and now problems with the clear coat. Not a problem with the product I'm using, but a problem with me and the conditions I'm spraying under. Changes are needed. So now it's time to wire it up. Simple enough. One pickup, only 2 wires, hot and ground. A single volume pot, no tone control, straight to the output jack. I soldered everything up, played it acoustically out in the shop, brought it inside and plugged it into an amp, and nothing. No buzz, no sound, no nothing. Like a short right to ground. Take off the strings, take off the bridge, open it up, give it a look. The hot wire on the output jack had a slice in its insulation down in the braided jacket. Curious. I removed the wire, tossed it, and used a different wire altogether. Assemble again. By this time, assembly was a breeze. So the Camacho build is finished, and I will always refer to it as the Nemesis. I like the guitar a lot. I like the way it plays, I like the way it sounds, and I like the way it looks. It's a rocker for sure with this MGB 4.0 flat wound. It's hot. And this one will be for sale. I will post on my Instagram account when it'll be available and where. So thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out this long. If you're not subscribed, please do. It helps the channel a lot.